Let's finish doing section 2.1 homework. I think we ended on question 12, so let's start on question 13 today. It says to solve the equation using the multiplication or division property of equality. And just to refresh your memory, property of equality says if A equals B, then if you multiply both sides by the same number, so let's say A times C and B times C, the equality is preserved. In other words, those two sides are still equal to each other. And you also know that if you divide by the same number, A over C will still equal B over C. Something I want to call your attention to before we do this problem, negative B over 2. When you have a fraction and you know that it's negative, like negative A over B, you can also put that negative up top and say that it's negative A over B, or you could put that negative down in the bottom and say it's A over negative B. What I'm trying to point out is you can either put the negative out front in the numerator or in the denominator. It does not matter. So, with that being said, we have the equation negative B over 2 equals 3, and we're supposed to solve for B. So I'm going to write that as B over negative 2 equal to 3. We want to get B by itself. Right now, we're dividing B by negative 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2 so that I have a negative 2 in the numerator and the denominator on the left-hand side. Negative 2 over negative 2 is 1, so I'm left with just B on the left-hand side of the equal side. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So B equals negative 6. We get to practice that again. Well, sort of. Okay, I have the equation negative 1/4 equals negative t. This negative t, even though you don't see it written this way, it really means negative 1 times t. Negative 1 times t. So if I want to get t by itself, I need to use the division property of equality and divide both sides by negative 1. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, I'm left with just t. And if you need to use your calculator, negative 1/4 divided by negative 1. So I have negative 1/4, and then I want to divide that by negative 1. I get just 1/4. So t equals 1/4. Okay, what if we have, for number 15, we have negative 1/7 times w, negative 1/7 times w, equal to negative 3/7. This is just a number times w. So I want to divide both sides by negative 1/7. I would be left with w equals, okay, your calculator can handle this. Go type in negative 3/7 divided by negative 1/7. So here comes my fraction. In the numerator, I want negative 3. Nope, sorry. Let me clear that out. I want a fraction. And in the numerator, I want a fraction. And I want negative, is it 3/7? Yes. Negative 3 over 7 over, I want a fraction, negative 1 over 7. And I get 3. If you don't like using this fraction, this alpha y equals, you can also type in -3 divided by 7 in parentheses, divided by, parentheses, -1 divided by 7. That will do the same thing. It's all personal preference. Okay, I get W equals 3. Another way to look at this problem, I had -1/7 times W equals -3/7. You could also multiply both sides by the reciprocal of -1/7, so -7/1. If I multiplied both sides by -7/1, -7/1 times -1/7 is just 1. I get W equals, and in the calculator, -3/7 times -7/1 is 3. So there's always different ways to do problems, but you just have to make sure you obey the rules. On this one, we multiplied by the same number on both sides. So we use the multiplication property of equality. Whereas on this one, we divided both sides by the same number, so we used the division property of equality. Number 16 says to solve the equation using the multiplication or division property of equality, and it looks like we're going to have some decimals. So we have the number 5.28 is equal to -0.02 times b. To get b by itself, I want to divide both sides by -0.02. And I have on the right-hand side b, and b will equal, let's see what we have, 5.28 divided by -0.02, and we get -264 for the answer. Okay, we're going to add to our skill set. Number 17 says to write an algebraic equation to represent the English sentence. Let x represent the unknown number, and then solve the equation. So now we're going from words to math. And a few things I want to point out. I always go through and circle the keywords like sum. Sum means you're going to add two things. The word is usually denotes equals. And as we keep going through more of these, I'll point out more of the words. Okay, here we go. The sum, what are we summing? -4 and a number. So those are the two things we're adding up, and it is 63. So here's the sum of -4 and a number. We don't know the number, so we're going to let it be x, is 63. So that's your algebraic equation. Why is it an equation? Because it has an equal sign. So -4 plus x equals 63. Now we're supposed to solve for x. How do we get x by itself? Right now we're doing -4 plus x. We need to get that -4 to the other side. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. When I do that, -4 plus 4, hold on, having pen problems. -4 plus 4 is 0. So now I have x equals 63 plus 4 is 67. Number 18 says to write the algebraic equation to represent the English sentence. Okay, reading through that English sentence. The difference of a number and -8 is 17. Okay, what does difference mean? Difference means you're going to subtract. And the other key word I see is. And remember that means equals. So what are we subtracting? A number and -8, and it's going to equal 17. So what are we doing? We're subtracting a number, is x, and -8. And it is 17. So that's the equation. X minus -8 equals 17. Now we need to solve that equation. Okay, I'm going to point out that I do not like minus a negative. I'm going to write that as x plus 8 equals 17. When you're doing minus a negative, you can change that to a plus. Okay, to get x by itself, I have x plus 8. I need to subtract 8 from both sides. 8 minus 8 is 0. On the left-hand side, I'm left with x equals 17 minus 8 is 9. So the solution to that equation is x equals 9. Number 19. An algebraic equation of, okay, here we go. The product of a number and 4 is the same as -24. Okay, product means you're going to multiply. Product of a number and 4 is the same as. Okay, instead of just saying is, now they're saying is the same as. So that's another fancier way of saying equals. All right, now let's go look for our numbers. The product of a number and 4 is the same as -24. Let's go turn that into math. We're multiplying two things, product of a number, which is x, and 4 is the same as -24. Now, usually we don't write x times 4, we write 4x. And that equals -24. How are we going to solve that equation? We need to get x by itself. Right now we're multiplying by 4. So to get that 4 to the other side, I need to divide those sides by 4. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 4 divided by 4 is 1. On the left, I have x. And on the right, I have -24 divided by 4, which is -6. The answer to that equation is x equals -6. Number 20, the quotient of a number and 45 is 1/5. So the vocabulary here, quotient means you want to divide. Quotient means the division. Okay, quotient of a number and 45 is, that's the equal sign. Now let's go through and get the numbers. The quotient of a number and 45 is 1/5. Okay, we're going to divide two things. So I'm going to do a fraction bar. The quotient of a number, so put x on top, and 45, that's in the denominator, is 1/5. That's your equation. X over 45 equals 1/5. Now to solve that equation, solving means we want to get x by itself. Right now we have x divided by 45. To move the 45 to the other side, I want to multiply both sides by 45. On the left-hand side, 45 divided by 45 is 1. So all that's on the left-hand side of the equal sign is 1x. Okay, on my calculator, 1/5 times 45. 1/5 times 45 is 9. The solution to that equation is x equals 9. Number 21 says to solve the equation using the appropriate property of equality. The more practice. For the first equation, 3 over 5 times h equals 9. I'm going to get rid of the a so I have a little bit more room. Okay, I'm multiplying the h by 3/5. Two ways you can see this. I can either divide both sides by the number 3/5, or I can multiply both sides by the number 5/3. It's whatever you want to do. So again, I can divide both sides by 3/5, or I could have seen it as multiplying both sides by 5/3. Either way is fine. Okay, if I divide both sides by 3/5, I have h equals. Calculator says 9 divided by, here comes a fraction, 3/5 is 15. You might want to write it as 9 divided by the fraction 3/5. You still get 15. Okay, for part B, I have 3/5 plus h equals 9. Now I'm adding 3/5 to h. So to get the h by itself, I want to subtract 3/5 from both sides. So negative 3/5 plus 3/5 is 0. And I'm left with h equals 9 minus 3/5. 9 minus 3/5 is 42/5. What does it want you to do? For part A, the answer was 15. And for part B, the answer was 42/5. For question 22, x divided by negative 3 is equal to 13. To get rid of the divided by negative 3, I need to multiply both sides by negative 3. On the left, negative 3 over negative 3 is 1. 1 times x is x. On the right, 13 times negative 3 is negative 39. So the solution set is x equals negative 39. Number 23, 5 is equal to negative 4b. That's really negative 4 times b. I need to divide both sides by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. 1 times b is just b. And on the left-hand side, the directions say to write the answer as an integer or simplified fraction. 5 over negative 4 is simplified. And if you don't believe me, on the calculator, if you typed in 5 divided by negative 4, it would give you a decimal. We don't want a decimal. The way to change that back into a fraction is to hit Math, and number 1 says change it to a simplified fraction, Math frac, and you get negative 5/4. Number 24, the equation says 5.6 equals 3.5 plus x. Right now we're adding 3.5 to x. To get x by itself, we want to subtract 3.5 from both sides. 3.5 minus 3.5 is 0. 0 plus x is just x. On the left-hand side, we have 5.6 minus 3.5. 5.6 minus 3.5 is 2.1. So your solution set is x equals 2.1. The last question, number 25, determine if the equation is a linear equation in one variable. Okay, a variable is an unknown quantity. So we often use letters to represent a variable. Some common variables might be x, y, t, a, b, and so on. So this question is asking, is it a linear equation in one variable? If I look at 9x minus 7y equals 0, do you see one variable or do you see two? I see an x and a y. So the question says, determine if it's a linear equation in one variable. The answer is no.